Welcome to Microcap Explosions. This is Mariusz Konieczny. I am chatting with Jay. Jay is a fellow YouTuber, content creator. And I want to talk about a subject of what's happening right now with some of the creators, myself, Jay, with the current sell-off. Some of us, have more losses than others, but there's a lot of lessons here. So Jay, first of all, thank you very much for joining me. Can you tell me about how you started the channel, what you recently experienced? Because I think there's some lessons for all of us to learn here.
Absolutely. So first of all, thanks for having me, Mariusz. I'm a big fan of your work and your channel. I think you're going to do a great job on YouTube. As far as my channel, I started my channel in July 2020. So this was about 3-4 months after the famous COVID crash, and I saw an opportunity. I saw an opportunity for content creation on YouTube in the financial space. Now, because I had my own successes with stocks, crypto, investments in my life, and those have really made a really massive positive impact on my own circumstances, and so I wanted to share that. I wanted to share that knowledge and share those strategies that I used in order to better my life. And so that's when my channel came about. I just started it as a passion project at first. Again, like when you start YouTube, you're not expecting to make money off of it. You're just putting content out there and seeing if people relate to it or not. And sure enough, my channel grew pretty quickly. I got to around 5K subs within a month, and 25K subs within 4 months of starting to create content. Now, as my channel grew, I was doing everything myself, right? So from the researching, writing, scripts, thumbnails, video editing, tagging, marketing, everything. So it was a lot, but again, I wanted to do it, and I wanted to share what I felt was necessary. However, once I got to 25K, I figured that, there was an opportunity for a real business to be built here. And I wanted to do it the right way. I built a community through Discord, and I also noticed that a lot of creators had done the same in this space on YouTube. But I wanted to do it in a way that I offered the education with it, and I wanted to offer something a little different. So my focus was more on small cap investments. So again, like more early stage investments that offer, offer more rewards, but with the potential rewards, there's obviously more risk. Now, what I think is important to take away from this past crash or correction, whatever you want to call it, I think for me, it was really crucial to see and to experience what mistakes that I made through building this community. And what I've realized is that I could have been a lot more careful with how I phrased certain things and how I went about creating and publishing my content. Now, I always had good intentions. I really did. My content was never about me. It was never about, blowing up or anything like that. However, one thing that I'm sure that you, as a newer creator on YouTube, I'm sure you're aware of and you're becoming more aware of, is depending on the type of content that you're putting out, it's going to affect your views, right? And views affects your growth. And like it or not, every creator wants to grow on the platform. So we kind of have this weird push and pull of, I want to create content for views, but at the same time, I want to stay true to myself and true to my style of content. Now, when I started growing very quickly, I started making, there were some videos that I made specifically because things were trending or things were being talked about on YouTube. and I wanted to catch the algorithm, the big bad.
So give me an example of like some of the things that were trending and you made a video on.
Absolutely. So SPACs would be one of those things. So there was about, I would say, 8 to 10 months of just SPAC mania, as I'm sure you remember. Mm-hmm. And because I noticed that it was doing so well, I started playing those in the market myself. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I was talking about it and not actually doing it. Like I was playing warrants, SPAC warrants, and et cetera, et cetera. That being said, a lot of what I did was taking advantage of things I understood, which are warrants. And maybe, again, I did put out a couple videos on how to play warrants and all this kind of stuff. But that being said, I think I assumed that my audience was a lot further along than maybe they were. And I also, because I spent a lot of time making my videos, about 8 to 10 hours on each video, and I would take things very seriously. It wasn't like I was pumping out videos every day. So for me, I wasn't updating people fast enough. I wasn't updating my audience fast enough on the moves that I was making. So I decided to do that on Discord. I decided to update people on my Discord. But even then, it's still not quick enough. Like there's no automated solution here, right? Because not everyone is watching the market 24/7, like it or not. So what I learned is that people take to your word, right? People take to your actions. And I think it's like super important to realize how much of an impact you have on your followers and on your audience as an influencer. And for a really long time, I didn't like the term I didn't like to be called an influencer. It's not like I didn't want to influence people to do things. However, like it or not, I was. And everyone on this platform does influence at least one other person to do something. And that being said, the thing that they do will not necessarily be based on what you're letting people know what you want them to do. Meaning like I was always pushing, educate yourself, make the decision for yourself, learn, take your situation and make the decisions based on that. Don't make your decisions based on what I do, because I have a much different circumstance than you, a much different portfolio than yours. Everyone does. Everyone has a very different life situation, right? I don't have.
I was just wondering, how old are you right now?
I'm 30. I turned 30. I'm 30.
Because so you were like 18, 19 when the 2008, 2009 financial crisis happened?
Yes.
Yeah. So you were born in the 1980.
Sorry,
like
1990.
91. You see, I mean, it's interesting because your generation, right? Your generation, when you became interested in this, you saw the rebound from the 2008, 2009 financial crisis, and I can totally see how you would be interested in, those new trends, SPACs and, growth stocks and crypto and things like that, because this is what your entire adult life was working, right? And so it's hard to blame somebody like this when this is all you experienced in life, I mean, I have 10 years on you, and I went through that 2008, 2009, and I also got smoked on the mining stocks. So I'm like, shit, whatever a lot of people are going through on YouTube and Twitter, it's like I went through twice already, and it's not fun. It's not. I tell you, it's not fun when you have people pointing fingers at you and saying mean things. And like, hey, you did this to me, and they don't want to take the responsibility for their own actions. And then you're like, I didn't want to get out of bed during those days, especially with the mining stocks. But like, I know that, lots of these SPACs and growth stocks, took a beating now. But like, how are you dealing with this situation? Because the bigger your channel, the bigger the pain. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and you don't look a day older than 39, so you're good.
I am 42. I'm 42. But hey, I dance, I exercise, so I'm my how do you say it? My functional depreciation is different than the biological depreciation.
Fantastic, but yeah, man, thanks for that question. I think it's a great one. So let me get into that. So on a personal level, I'm fine. Like, because again, like I invest what I'm comfortable investing, and I invest money that I know I'm not going to need for at least 12 plus months at the minimum, right? But most of the money I spend, like I know that I'm not going to need it for at least 2 to 3 years. So that's the mindset I go in with. In terms of how I'm dealing with it, like it's, again, the market will be the market. Like I personally do not care. I know what I own, I know what I hold, and I'm very confident about my vision and my analysis of the companies that I do hold. Whether that's on the stock market with small cap companies, or whether that's crypto projects that I understand the technology behind it, right? So whether it's that or that, I'm totally fine. The problem that I dealt with, like you mentioned, is more on the community side. It's more on the people that, let's say I posted that I bought $100,000 worth of a stock. Let's just say people, and again, $100,000 is not, it's not, close to my entire portfolio, right? So let's just put it that way. And if I'm talking about someone else who $100,000 might be 90% of their portfolio, let's just say, right? And they see me posting that I bought $100,000 and they copy my every move, which I don't want. And I certainly tell people to not do. But if that happens, then that person during a crash like this for growth stocks and small caps, like they're going to be in a really bad situation. And although I understand that it's not directly my fault, I know that I didn't make them press that button. I know that I told them not to do that. However, you still feel for that person. You still feel bad. You still feel like you played a role in potentially affecting in a very negative manner their financial situation. And so that is what I took a little break from creating content because number one, I was dealing with some personal stuff, but also that, and coming back and wanting to post again on YouTube and wanting to rebrand and come out with a better image and better content, it's something that I'm really, really honed in on and focused on, is like, be careful what you're posting because you're affecting a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting what you said about the copying, because so as you know, I run microcap explosions.
Yeah.
And people ask me like, can you post? I just recently had a guy who signed up and 10 minutes later he was like, I want my money back because you don't post your portfolio. And for that reason, I don't want to post my portfolio because I don't want people to copy me. Like I want them to make their own decisions. It's none of your business how much of a concentration I have in something, because my conviction is not your conviction. You have to like look at it, decide it on your own. But one other thing is that, maybe I can help you cope with it because I've experienced it. One time when I was in that downturn, I remember I watched this YouTube video and the guy was talking about pain. And he said, think of it, pain or failures, as a down payment for the future success. The bigger the pain, the bigger the down payment. And it really helped me. And it actually did, turned out to be a little bit like that. But I don't know. I just wanted to throw it out there because I know what you're going through. And even though you're personally fine, I know there is still pain out there. So I just wanted to throw it out there.
No, it's a great point. I like that quote. I might use it again. Don't worry, I'll quote your friend though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so if you have more, experience with the YouTube growth,
yeah.
and probably watching other YouTube creators,
Hmm.
do you think that it's other creators outside of yourself, maybe, do you think people create content on financial channels like simply out of what's trending and they want to talk about it because they'll get views?
100%. I think 90% of content creators on YouTube in the financial space do exactly that. And for myself, I was creating content on Canadian small cap stocks mostly, right? So I knew that those are not really going to get views unless I title them in a way that might attract people to click on the thumbnail. However, I knew that the actual content, no one was searching for that. And that's what I was proud of, is because I made my own analysis, my own judgments, my own decisions, and it had nothing to do with any other channel out there. That's what was unique about my channel. But yes, and I think unfortunately there are a lot of bad players in the space. Meaning, again, I'm not saying every single financial YouTuber is a scumbag. That's not what I'm saying. I think there are some good ones out there, but there are also, it's the other side of the coin, where there's people that have literally no care in the world about how they affect other people, and they just literally create content because they want views and they want to make more money and they want more sponsorships, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that wheel keeps spinning. It's very dangerous cycle to get in, and you have to have a very strong mindset, a very strong character, and very strong like the ability to remain true to yourself and your values in order to be a content creator. I really do believe that.
So going forward now,
Yeah.
with the experience that you have, like, how, first of all, how would you have advice to people that are watching financial content, and like what kind of things are you going to do in the future to to not go through something like that again?
Yeah, I think the important thing is to just be as transparent as possible. Like, I do feel like I was as transparent as I could be at the time. I just didn't update quick enough, and I was a little bit reckless in the way in how I presented the content sometimes. Again, and this is all based on YouTube views, right? Which is really shitty.
But also it's typical for all of us to, when stock prices are going up, we can be reckless on due diligence and be sloppy on due diligence. And when stock prices start going down, then we can overdo it on the other side and like do paralysis analysis. So it's
Well,
typical human psychology.
well, yeah, man, and I mean, scroll through YouTube on a red day. Scroll through YouTube when it was a really bullish market, always green days. Scroll through. You'll see the titles, the thumbnails, everything's over exaggerated, right? When things are good, it's like, oh my God, we're all going to be millionaires and this is so easy. And when something like this, it's like, oh no, the market's crashing, do this now, And look, again, like the larger channels can get away with that because they have a very large audience. And that's probably how they grew in the first place, because they clickbait like crazy. And it's like there's two extremes, right? There could never be a happy middle, which is where we as as so-called financial YouTubers that are not giving financial advice, but that are sharing our financial experience and financial ideas, right? We should be in that middle. We should always be in the happy middle. The fact that some of us get emotional based on what's happening in the market and then translate that emotion to our viewers is probably the worst thing that any of us can do. Because we're making people panic, we're making people feel like they're on top of the world, and we're making people feel like their financial lives might be ruined, I don't know if that made sense, but
No, it's perfect. So going forward, how do you think you're going to handle the content creation and your investing in general?
absolutely. So my investing personally, nothing's going to change. How I invest It's not going to change because, again, my strategy is well thought out. It's based on my risk tolerance, based on, my portfolio, based on my goals, based on my life situation, right? Now, in terms of content creation, that will change. I've hired a financial coach because I don't really have time to do a bunch of sessions, but I've hired somebody who I vetted and I feel very comfortable with, and he does weekly sessions in my Discord and offers certain things, and that's part of like my Discord now, right? I'm also I'm hiring a full-time Jayconomics employee very soon, and whoever that person's going to be is going to be vetted very hard and is going to touch on everything, right? Whether it's the macroeconomic side of things, whether that's stocks, whether that's whatever's happening in current events. My point is that my content is going to be geared more towards strategies, educational content. How do you do certain things? Why do you do certain things? Tips, right? And less, it's going to be less geared towards covering a different stock every day or covering a different stock every video. I don't want to do that. I think that's not a good place to be, and I don't think that's a good place for your audience to be as well. I think you can.
And you made me think of Jim Cramer, because there's a lot of criticism about Jim Cramer, and we can all criticize him for certain things. But then I always think to myself, you know what? If I had to come up with 5 stocks a night, there's going to be 50% of them that are going to turn into awfulness, and you're going to get criticism. It's tough, but like I get that as a creator. The more stocks you talk about, the more popular they are, the more views you're gonna get.
It's tough.
But then you can't follow them all. Like you can't really do due diligence on them, because it's so just surface just to create content. So yeah, I totally get that.
And to that point, man, and that's a great point. To that point, I still get messages sometimes being like, "Oh, do you still hold like so and so stock?" And I was like, "I never even held that," or like I clearly said I was trading that, or and there's just that miscommunication, really. And you're right, it's like you can't keep track more than 10 stocks. You can't, period. And if you really want to stay on track of every little thing, like I would say like 5 stocks even. You know what I mean? Like I have 5 stocks that I have. Most of my stock portfolio is like concentrated in 5 stocks. I hold.
And Voxter is one of them, right?
Voxter is one of them, yes.
Yeah, I think you're gonna earn some point with my audience here.
I know. You're known as the Voxter man. I mean, you're the one who you're the one who and props to you. You're the one who said, "Hey Jay, check out this stock," and I did, and I really liked what I saw, and now I built myself a very large position. When do we speak first about Voxter? Maybe in December or November? Anyways, it was in end of 2021. And
so you are up on the position, right?
Yeah. My average is like 105, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Canadian.
Where
you at?
105 Canadian. Yeah.
Yeah.
So still up even after this recent pullback.
Yeah, I mean, we get this huge monumental news on attorney opinion letter. We go almost to $2, and now the market craps, and here we are. But man, that's the nature right now.
It's the nature of it right now, and it's tough because as I consider myself to be more of a long-term investor, like I have a very forward-thinking mindset, and I'm very patient, and I'm not emotional at all with my stocks. And people in my Discord will vouch for that. Like I try to be the voice of reason when there is no reason around. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
But it's tough because I know that in this environment, I was expecting the stock to go back to at least 130 Canadian, right? So in my head, I was like, like being a long-term investor, like I know that this is going to pull back, and I know it's going to be a significant pullback. So do I just sell my shares now and buy back at 130 when I know it's going to hit there? And it even went lower than 130. But so I ended up selling at 5% of my position, and I rebought those shares a couple days ago. But I didn't want to give that perception of and that's another thing I want to touch on is like, especially when you're running a community and you're being transparent about every trade you're making or every buy or sell you're making. It's like, if you do sell, even if it's like 5% of your position, let's say
it's awful.
Man, dude, like let's say I hold like $100,000 worth of a stock and I sell 5% of that. So like $5,000 worth book cost, let's just say. People are like, "Oh, why did you sell? Did you lose conviction? Should I sell? Should I do this?" And it's like, "Oh my God." So I understand your point of view when you're like, I
don't tell people.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I mean, recently I had to sell some of my stocks, including Voxter and Oracle, because I had to pay my taxes. Like it had to come from somewhere. So I sold a little bit, but no way am I going to tell people I sold, because it's going to create this craziness. Like, oh, you don't like it anymore? Like, look, you probably sold some because you needed to buy a car, you know? So it's, but, you know, you see, it's interesting what's happening right now, because not too long ago, I was feeling like, you know, the market is selling off. My stocks are doing fine. I don't feel any pain. But now, shit, I am freaking feeling the pain now.
So your top three are your top three Voxter, Secure, and Oracle? Are those your top three, or?
Yeah. So Voxter and Oracle, Secure is smaller, but now Voxter and Oracle are kind of like fighting. I have similar number of shares. But yeah, so all right, well, cool. Any final thoughts do you have before we finish this interview?
Yeah, man. I mean, look, like I said, thank you for having me on. I think you're doing the world a service, and us. You know, I see a lot of similarities between what you do and what I do, which is, again, we're focused on the small cap, early stage investments type thing, and for us, I think it's very important that we are extremely careful and extremely cognizant of how we're presenting information and how we are relaying that, especially on YouTube. Private community is one thing, but on YouTube, when it's a public forum, when they don't know, you know, when viewers on YouTube, maybe they don't know like the context of certain situations or certain things, like we need to be very, very careful. And we also need to stick together, you know, because this is going to be a tough time. And, like you, like I have no personal worries about the stocks that I own. However, community, you know, we're going to have to keep our community together and united, and, looking forward to the future and building people's own, building each other's convictions. You know what I mean? Like helping people build their own conviction, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, thanks for your time.
Thanks, man. Take care. Cool.
All right. So